Well, Juanita, Canada's election collided with Canada's game, and hockey won. Quebec prides itself on its secular nature, but if there is a provincial religion, it's the Habs.
We get to see the maple trees, maple sugar on the maple leaves. We got the biggest wheat fields growing tall. In Canada, where we see the reversing falls. In Canada, we get to see them all.
Well, hello there. So, just 4 weeks ago, Mark Carney called a snap election for the end of this month, April 28th. Now, with just a week to go, the leaders' debates have been taking place in both official languages. The first one was in French in Montreal, and they've been limited to just Mark Carney for the Liberals, Pierre Poilievre for the Conservatives, Jagmeet Singh for the New Democratic Party, NDP, and Yves-François Blanchet for the Bloc Québécois. The Green Party was left out of the debate after they made a decision not to run candidates in ridings where the Tories are likely to win. They say they met all of the criteria for the debates. They're at their lowest support in 20 years, likely due to the trade war and fear of invasion by the Orange Mussolini, Mango Mussolini. As I said, the first leaders' debate was in the French language. It was held in Montreal. It was originally set to start at 8 p.m., but was delayed because there was a super important hockey game, between the Montreal Canadiens, the Habs, and the Carolina Hurricanes. The Habs won the game and are now headed for the playoffs. They had a big game with Toronto tonight. After the second debate, which was in English, Mark Carney laid out the Liberals' platform, as did the NDP.
Liberal leader Mark Carney and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh laid out their plans, each promising billions in new spending. Conservative leader Pierre, who has yet to release his fully costed plan, is already criticizing the Liberals' platform as too expensive.
Pierre Poilievre has yet to release his, even while advanced polling is taking place and voting. Even worse, he still refuses to get a security clearance.
Security clearance. I got mine within 3 weeks. It wasn't hard, but I felt it was important that I had it so I could be in a position to be informed about that dangerous world and take decisions that. And Mr. Poilievre, it is now 950 days, if my numbers are right, since you've had the opportunity to get your top secret security clearance, and you've refused. Why?
Well, first of all, I have got my security clearance when I was a minister. I got top secret clearance at the time, so there's no problem getting that. But when the government made this recent offer, they said that if I got the secret security clearance briefings, that I would be gagged. Under the security law, that I would be gagged. Under the security law, and I could be prosecuted if I spoke freely
it sounded like
about
I would be
matters of foreign interference.
Poor little PP. He's had a lot of trouble shifting focus from his attacks on Justin, and since one of Carney's first acts was to remove the already expiring carbon tax, which the rabid dog Pierre had sunk his teeth into as his big bone of electoral contention, he has instead been focused on non-existent or exaggerated problems which he pretends that he and he alone can fix.
It concerned me, and it should concern you as well, that the same week that in America, Donald Trump is causing the biggest constitutional crisis in American history since the U.S. Civil War by ignoring the Supreme Court, ignoring the Constitution, and ignoring all semblance of respect for human rights and civil rights and dignity, and doing it because he thinks he's doing the right thing and he's going to protect people. That's his basis for doing it. That same week, we have Pierre Poilievre in Canada claiming that he is going to overrule our Charter of Rights and Freedoms to do what he thinks is right. Now, that's something we have to talk about. I'm not suggesting, not for a moment, that Pierre Poilievre is considering rounding up hundreds of Canadians and deporting them to a foreign gulag without charges, without trial, without any due process. That's ridiculous to even suggest that. After all, we have a Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms that would stop him from doing that and protects us from that kind of thing. Wait a minute. He's talking about overruling that because he thinks there are cases and situations where it's not that important.
He even seems to be creating his own crime wave. After the last debate, the usual scrum with the reporters was cancelled after security concerns about some right-wing media presence and a potential for physical confrontation.
Immediately following it, Michel Cormier, who's the executive director of the Leaders Debate Commission, did go before reporters to say that, yes, in fact, they would not be able to hold them, saying that they didn't feel they could actually properly guarantee a secure environment. And then following that, we were outside here when we saw a number of members of the media who were following some of these leaders around the country. They were being followed by some of these right-wing media outlets who did the previous night monopolize some of the questions from the Leaders Debate at those press conferences from the French language Leaders Debate, and it started to get testy and physical as well. That is why Montreal police were here, because they were concerned about that type of security breach, and that is what had happened.
And another MAGA-style move for the Conservatives and PP is to choose which media they will or won't respond to.
But unlike other party leaders, he only takes 4 questions with no follow-ups, and party staff decide which reporters get to ask. That boiled over in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, when a reporter not handpicked by the party tried to ask a question.
Sorry, there's just a protester here. Go ahead.
It's a reporter trying to ask you a legitimate question.
If the Liberals stay in power.
At campaign events, journalists are kept at a distance, often behind barriers.
Thank you. Next question.
All part of the party's iron grip on message control. Staffers have tried to block access to journalists trying to speak to reporters and even local candidates.
There's a picture of you going around on social media wearing a Make America Great hat.
This event isn't open for questions. It's just for coverage, okay?
Yeah, it's a public place.
The Liberals, New Democrats, and Bloc Québécois all have reporters traveling with their campaigns at their news organization's expense. And those reporters choose among themselves who will get to ask questions. The Conservatives used to do that too, until this year. A campaign source says it's about minimizing risk.
Well, the Pipsqueak's very happy to appear in cozy right-wing podcast bubbles to wax poetic on what Canada once was and how it can be great again, only under his leadership. Pierre's a career politician and the protege of Stephen Harper, whose economy failed miserably and was ranked the worst in post-war history, and benefited the wealthy while leaving the middle class behind. This is the same Stephen Harper who chose Carney as head of the Bank of Canada in 2008, and then later approached him to be his finance minister. Mind you, he could have chosen Pierre, but he didn't. Carney turned down the offer because he just stepped down as the governor of the bank and didn't think it was appropriate for him to go directly into politics. The position went to Jim Flaherty instead. And now Harper's back like the ghost of Ebenezer Scrooge. He's muddying the waters to give his little pet Pee-Pee a last-minute boost. By claiming that Carney's experience as a Liberal economic advisor is tied to the carbon tax and sizable deficits, and that his role in saving the economy has been exaggerated. Pushing back, Carney's team released a statement that read in part, "Canadians know that Pierre Poilievre and his team bring no experience or plan to protect our economy, and no ability to stand up to Donald Trump in a national crisis. Mr. Carney is ready to lead Canada and build the strongest economy in the G7. Poilievre stated that he worked under the Harper government and saw firsthand the exceptional leadership of Mr. Flaherty and Mr. Harper in steering Canada through one of the most challenging economic periods in our history, and that what's happening right now is not just misleading, it's appalling." Chisholm Poilievre, who worked as Flaherty's deputy of chief of staff and director of communications, came to Carney's defense in his own social media, saying, "Oh, please, I was there when Carney played a big role. Flaherty and Harper provided the political leadership that was key, but Carney was on deck and with insight and smart monetary policy." In mid-January, Liberal MP Maninder Sidhu published a video touting Carney's work during the 2008 crisis. The video featured a clip of Flaherty saying, "Mark has been a superb governor at the Bank of Canada for more than 5 years."
Carney. Mark Carney.
Why is Pierre so excited about Mark Carney? Let's have a look.
It was 2008, just before the massive Wall Street meltdown that threatened to take the entire global economy with it. A few years after helping steer Canada's economy clear, Carney took the same position in the UK.
Carney steered Canada through the worst of the financial crisis here.
He is quite simply the best, most experienced and most qualified person in the world to be the next governor of the Bank of England.
Carney becomes the first foreign governor in its history. Britain's gain, Canada's loss.
It is our loss, of course it is. Mark has been a superb governor of the Bank of Canada for more than 5 years.
This is not about being conservative or liberal. This is about ensuring our economy and my constituents' jobs are protected. There's only one person with real experience, global respect, and credibility to do just that.
Admired, respected, and busiest global leaders in the world is Mark Carney.
The only attack they seem to be left with is that, he's Trudeau warmed over, which Carney also disputes. Fergus! Chewing on my cord. Well, his Trump-like slogans and promises and tough guy act only come across as weak and cringy, and he's lost a lot of the women's vote. Recent ads run by the Tories have chosen not to feature Pipsqueak at all. Instead, they're paying actors to play everyday Canadians out on the golf course, fed up with the Liberal Party and who want to change, but they don't say what that change is or what Carney said that made them want that change.
I'm voting Conservative. There you go.
Yeah, for a change.
What happened to Pierre Poilievre? So I have noticed a recent shift in the Conservative Party campaign where they appear in some of their more recent ads to not include their own leader, neither his voice or his face, in their advertising.
With a record turnout at advanced polling of nearly 2 million early votes, he hasn't got much time left to find something that'll swing those polls back in his direction with any real force. So thanks for getting out there and voting early. My fellow Canucks, thanks for winning early, Toronto Maple Leafs. Now out to the playoffs. Elbows up.
Notice we didn't have to change the time of this debate because the Leafs already clinched the Atlantic Division title, and therefore we didn't need to move the debate to accommodate a hockey game.
Stay tuned for more on Political Drain Canadian Edition.
Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.